My lords, the whole House will have been saddened to hear of the death over the weekend of Lord Ramsay of Canterbury. He first entered your lordship's house on appointment to his first see, Durham, in 1952, and continued to sit as Archbishop of York and Canterbury, and since 1974 as a life peer. Much has already been said and written about Lord Ramsay as a scholarly and spiritual man, and those of your lordships who remember him as Archbishop and a frequent attender in your lordship's house will recall that these qualities permeated his contributions to debate here also. But that is not to say that he did not speak his mind in the House on matters of concern to him and to the Church. As Archbishop, he was called upon for advice on the role of the bishops during the negotiations on Lord's reform in the late 1960s and the adoption of the synodical system of government by the Church and its assumption of responsibility in 1973 for doctrine and worship represented a major change in the relationship between Parliament and the established Church. But above all, my lords, we remember Lord Ramsay today for his remarkable gifts and for his great presence, and your lordships will wish to join me, I am sure, in offering every sympathy to his widow.
My lords, the noble lord, the leader of the House, has paid a worthy and a warm tribute to Lord Ramsay, and on behalf of my noble friends, I endorse everything the noble lord has said. The impression that I had of Lord Ramsay, and I did not have the privilege of knowing him very well, was that he was a cheerful and benevolent Christian leader who sustained the Anglican Church through his personality and his extensive travels. Whilst it is true, however, that his travels were significant, especially his historic journey to meet Pope Paul in Rome, he was a far more profound personality than appeared immediately on the surface. He was a distinguished theologian and a gifted teacher, as well as a thoughtful pastoral archbishop. If he gave the touching impression of vagueness at times, he could also be decisive on great issues. I once heard him make a witty and humorous speech, and I realized that he did have a strong sense of humor, although I believe that he hesitated and worried a great deal before he made a speech in this House. Perhaps more of us should follow his example. There was an innocence and a humility about Lord Ramsay which placed him in a special category, and all those who worked closely with him loved and revered him. He takes his place as one of the great church leaders of this century, and our deep sympathy goes out to Lady Ramsay and his family at this time.
My lords, I should like to associate my noble friends with the tributes which have been paid to the late Lord Ramsay. I speak as a nonconformist, and I can say that Lord Ramsay, during his 13 years as Archbishop, was held in the highest regard by all branches of the Christian Church, and indeed by the general public outside. It was of significance to us on these benches that in his younger days, he was in fact on the list of approved Liberal candidates. I have two particular memories of Lord Ramsay. He preached the sermon at a service held in Westminster Abbey in 1977 to mark the occasion of the 100th anniversary of the formation of the National Liberal Federation. I was the organizer on the Liberal Party side of that particular occasion, and it fell to me to invite him to attend, and he very graciously accepted, and I will remember his impressive remarks on that occasion. The second memory is of a dinner, another commemorative occasion, held at the National Liberal Club to commemorate the 100th anniversary of the formation of Gladstone's first government in 1968. And the two principal speakers were Lord Ramsay and Lady Violet Bonham Carter, and I sat between them, and they got into such, because I was presiding, and they got into such animated discussion that their heads came closer and closer together, and I could scarcely get my fork to my mouth. My lords, the outstanding memory from both these occasions is of a kind, thoughtful, and courageous man.
My lords, this bench we would also like to be associated with the tributes being paid to the noble Lord Ramsay. He and I came into this house as life peers about the same time, in 1974. He had a brilliant mind, and on his day he was an extremely good communicator. He didn't often intervene in our debates. Some of us felt perhaps not often enough, but he was always listened to intently, and we always enjoyed his command of the English language and his philosophical and at times somewhat radical views. My lords, he did enjoy his holidays in Dartmoor. He liked the solitude of the Devon landscape, and he was concerned about our environment. He was a kindly and a courteous man who inspired affection and loyalty in all those who knew him and worked with him, and we know that he will be sorely missed in many facets of life. Our sympathy too goes out to his widow and friends.
My lords, I take it as the greatest of privileges to remember in your lordship's house from these benches, and speaking for noble lords on the cross benches, someone who was a friend, someone from whose hands I received my own consecration as a bishop, someone who conveyed always that great sense that things mattered to God. Michael Ramsay might, from his experience in the Union of the University of Cambridge, of which he was once president, have been moved to enter the world of political engagement. He served instead the ordained ministry of the Church of God, but always with the consciousness that it is in the civil order and the actualities of daily life that Christian decisions must be made, and therefore with respect always for those who carry responsibility in the civil order. And therefore, as occurred in your lordship's house in the tributes which we have heard, he was loved and respected not only by his fellow churchmen of his own and other churches, but by others too, and not least in your lordship's house, his membership of which he held in such serious regard.
Lord Carter.
Lords, I'm a big leave to ask the first question standing in my name on the order paper.